guys, Michael Ketchen here with another episode of the Michael Ketchen Show. Joined Matthew Hitchcock is back.
Yep.
Took a couple of weeks off. Missed a couple good guests.
New setup. I missed a lot.
Yeah, Hot Money Hitchcock out. He's just traveling the world. Guy goes to Montana and forgets all the little people.
I'm with you.
Yeah, you weren't with me, but the people don't need to know that behind the scenes, Matt. Just fucked up the whole bit right there.
They saw your story. They know.
Kyle Waszeciak.
Yep.
Did I get it right?
You did.
All right,
Good
we are
job.
joined. I just love it. You're killing it. I wish I had his ambition at his age when I was getting after it. Just well ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
We were giving him shit pre-show about not being a standard member because you're exactly what we're looking for. Young entrepreneur, getting after it, a lot of energy, dominating. We were talking about how you want to be one of the best in the space for Mass, New Hampshire realtors all around, correct? Mm-hmm. And you're a real estate investor.
Yep.
So you got a lot of things going on, young man.
I do.
How the hell you get into all this space? Give us a little bit of your story.
So how I originally got into it, piquing my own interest into real estate was me realizing that a lot of the most successful people are involved in real estate to some capacity, whether it be investing, you name it. And I came from a family dynamic that didn't have financial stability from real estate. So that really encouraged me to be where those successful people were so I could build a stronger foundation.
Okay.
Because I didn't have that foundation. I've, moved countless times growing up. Single mom. My parents divorced at a young age. Single mom with 3 kids. When I was 15, she had another one, so it was like 4 kids.
Yeah.
So it was a crazy household, but we managed. We really did. And I saw the financial burden on her, and I feel like I wanted to build something better. And I'm not knocking my parents for the stuff that they kind of put me through. It's more so they taught me a lot of what not to do. And I'm grateful that they made the decisions they did because I wouldn't be where I'm at right now because of that.
Yeah, I can relate to that in more ways than one. And thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's almost identical to my story. And and thank you for sharing that because what that tells me right away is, we could talk about a lot about abundancy versus scarcity mindset. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it gets discussed enough because everyone's like, oh, just get an abundance mindset, right? Until you go through adversity and you come out the other side of that, I don't think you realize how damaged and how fucked up you can be, but how that can also be a motivating factor to be a chip on your shoulder to push you. At least I know it became that for me. Yeah. And it sounds like it became that for you too, right? Because in some ways it's almost like you see what you don't want. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can go to that I call it that dark place, right? I call it deep water. I'm always like, we're swimming in the deep water, right? And it's like, okay, you think you want this. But if you're not willing to run through an absolute fucking wall and you just won't be denied, you don't really want it. You think you want it. Mm-hmm. And you don't have the same hunger I do. And it sounds like you have that hunger, right? Because you go through that.
Yeah, I do.
Obviously, you see that go through it. Where's the ability? I mean, because how old are you? You're not, what are you
25.
now? Yeah, I mean, exactly. This kid's about to be a millionaire by the time he's like 30.
Your brain just fully formed. What's that like?
Here we go with the conspiracy. Actually, is that a real thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was a conspiracy.
No, your frontal lobe, at that age, I guess, apparently is fully formed.
Technically, I'm
Trump's
not getting any taller now.
Conspiracy theory guys won. We stopped growing. I got fucked. If we stopped growing at 25, I lost a lot of height there. That's something I asked right there. Forget something. Thank you, Kaylee. And then, but anyways, so on that note, you go through that. Where's the passion for financial literacy come up? The wealth to learn, because you can take that fire in the belly, and that can go a lot of different ways. You said real estate. I'm assuming that was tied to financial literacy. Give us a little bit of the background there. Where'd that come from?
Like why real estate or what?
Oh, why real estate? Why an
you
entrepreneur?
You saw from your parents, you're growing up, that you didn't want to go down that path. So how, I know you mentioned there's a lot of people that you've noticed that have gone down the real estate path, but I guess, where did you start? Was it the Bigger Pockets? Was it just some random clip on Instagram? How did that kind of pique your interest that that's the avenue you're going to
So I was starting to watch a lot of YouTube videos. I was listening to a lot of podcasts. I originally got my real estate license while I was still going to college. So as I was going to my college classes, Bigger Pockets was on every morning in the car. Mm-hmm. I listened to an episode basically
I just
every
told
day.
One of our employees, I literally just had this conversation with her. Great woman, mom getting after it, wants to start getting into real estate. And I just asked her what she listened to on the car ride up. And what she say? She's like, oh, I listened to nothing. I was like, well, congratulations. You just wasted 60 minutes. Yeah. Where if you got after it, right?
No, you can
She's
you can
gonna
learn
kill
so
me,
much out
she
there.
might be producing the show and not watching me. But yeah, there's so much time.
We used to drive into our W-2s all the time.
All the time, right? It's that obsessive, and that comes back to that fire in the belly. So I don't want to let that go. It's like, no, I have so much time. We all have the same amount of time. It's so amazing to me how people spend it so differently. And then they got all the excuses, right? I'm fucking tired. I want to fucking Netflix, or I want to shut the fuck up. You're not obsessed. Yeah, I need to oh, that's my favorite one. You need to relax.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I thought you had goals. I thought you had ambitions. I thought you had drive.
Yeah.
Relax when you arrive. Don't relax when you're starting the journey. But keep going with that story.
Yeah. So it was like every morning I was listening to Bigger Pockets. I was, reading books. I knew that my main interest was in real estate, but I wanted to kind of see the engineering path through because I was going to school already for it. So I,
who pushed that on you, by the way? Because that's the traditional model, right?
I'd say, some people that were friends of the family were kind of like, what are you going to do? And
it's like, I know better.
Yeah. It's like, what? And I knew a couple engineers. I'm like, oh, you make cool night vision goggles. You do all this stuff. That's so cool. Like, I'd love to do that. I was like a Legos kid growing up. So like building stuff was always a thing for me. I was good at math, and that's kind of like, okay, let's try engineering. I was royally humbled first semester.
Yeah.
The only class I passed was physics. I failed all the other ones.
Damn.
And I was like, yeah. So then I'm like, okay. I pivoted from UNH, went to a community college, got my 2-year degree, and then immediately started working in the field because I wanted to see what it was really like before committing to another 2 years of my life, Yeah. And then
I give you a compliment there, Kyle. Even there, I think that speaks to your decision-making process.
Yeah.
Because how many people would have been able to self-evaluate? And how often do people just put their head down and just keep grinding on a path, going nowhere? So that's good on you right there. That just speaks to your ability to be able to make decisions that are hard decisions. So good on you for having the stones to do that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So you go to community college. You're like Kanye, the college dropout. And we're going that way. You go right into the workforce, and then you get the itch. What's going on there?
So yeah, like I was learning a lot. I was grateful to be put in a position where I was working for a small defense contractor, and I really enjoyed the knowledge I was getting from it. But it was the lifestyle aspect that I didn't like. I knew, the 9 to 5 really wasn't for me. Like, I was the youngest in the building.
Yep.
I could feel the energy get sucked out of me as soon as I would clock into work.
It's like looking in a mirror 40 years in the future and getting depressed.
Yeah, it's like everyone's doing the same thing every single day, and you almost have the same conversations every day too. And it's like
just waiting for the weekend, Jim.
I had these big goals walking into that building, and like some of the guys there, they like knew it too.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing here? I stuck that out for 2 years, and I basically stuck out the engineering job just so that I could build up a nest egg so I could buy my first property.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So I did it the strategic route. I didn't just burn the boats and go. I was like, okay, I'll burn the boats as soon as I get my first multifamily. And once I did that, I cold called, found one off market, closed on that, got it for a great deal too. And ever since then, I was like, okay, I'm going full-time real estate. So I became a full-time realtor. So it's like now over 2 years full-time real estate. And, I haven't looked back. I haven't even thought about the engineering job. I've made way more money than I would have if I stuck that out.
Isn't it funny how it's usually, like I said, it's on the other side, but it's almost like that fear. It's like, I go back to what I said earlier, like that scarcity mindset, right? Like I remember like when we started, everyone projecting on us and the fear, and you come from a generation where they know a certain way. And it's almost like I say all the time, like when people are telling you something, they're projecting fear on you. Unless what I've found, and I don't know if it's been you guys' experience, when people are incredibly successful, they're usually the first to help, and they ask better questions and they guide you a certain way. They don't tend to project the fear, right? And I'm always trying to be mindful, like when you take advice, because you can take advice from anybody, but if someone's not doing what you want to do, they're not living the life you want, I kind of disregard that advice more often than not. On the certain instances that, I'm not saying, ignore your doctor. I'm not saying ignore your lawyers. That's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making, though, is if someone's working a very good paying W-2 job, they're clearly smart, they're clearly capable, but they might not have the entrepreneurial itch.
Yeah.
And when you get in a room of people who are not entrepreneurs and you're an entrepreneur, it's like being a caged animal.
Yeah.
It's like being ravenous. Like you walk in every day and the life is just being sucked out of you every day. And it's like, even with our company, we've tried to do stuff, and it's going to be a challenge as it grows. We've tried to do like flex schedule, get your stuff done. We're not as worried about how many hours you work and you being productive. Well, that comes from an entrepreneurial background. And we've even got some pushback from that and other people in the industry, and we've held on to it. We're going to continue to try to hold on to it for as long as we can because we don't want to work. Like I've never understood like the punch the clock to just fucking punch the clock. No. I hate wasted time.
Set hours just shouldn't be a thing.
I truly hate wasted time. It's like, are you getting the things done that you need to get done? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Are you evaluating your performance? Are you hitting the KPIs? And that's what I think is kind of, what I believe long-term is going to give us a leg up as we continue to attract talent to the team. That's what I think.
Yeah, I also think it encourages creativity too. Like people we hire, we're saying, hey, it's a flexible schedule, but you got to get it done. So in theory, if you could just have AI or something completely do your job and you really aren't around, but we don't really know about it, that's on you. Like if it's getting done and you're being creative about it, that's all that really matters to us.
Yeah, and that's kind of, like I said, it's kind of a creative, out of the box idea, but I think it kind of goes to what you just said. Like, I want people to go back, if they take nothing else from this episode, it's like, go where you feel invigorated, go where you feel fired up, go where you believe in the vision, the mission, the growth, the challenge, bet on yourself. That's literally where it came from. You did that.
Yeah.
Going into that environment, like if you listen to this right now and you're working a job that you feel like it's a dead end, well, is it a dead end, or do you got to make some changes? And nothing changes if nothing changes. And that's a very simple saying, but I truly believe it. If I tell everybody the first time, like we put the reel up the other day, Danielle, shout out to her, doing a good job as always. You see the one about the rich dad, poor dad?
Yeah.
She made the reel about, because I've given everyone that test. And I can't tell you how many times people, I want your time. Obviously, everyone wants a lot of time, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, hey, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, write down any questions you have, and then reach back out to me after that, and we'll talk. And 99% of the time, that ends the conversation right there. And I'm like, if you couldn't read a book, if you couldn't take the 5 minutes to read a book, right? I mean, how serious are you? You wanted to waste my time?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
We had, I was thinking about this the other day. We had a girl reach out for a possible job, maybe like a month ago. And I told her to email Kaylee, right? Haven't heard anything from her. And I was thinking, you're trying to make a first impression.
Yeah.
And you can't follow the basic instruction, like email this person. Why would I ever want you on my team? You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's kind of interesting. But no, that I like that shit going. So talk to me about the cold calling, how you got the first deal, kind of the art of the first deal, the first 3 family. What was that like?
So I guess you could say I was driving for dollars too.
We love driving for dollars. Great strategy. Actually, you know what? Explain what driving for dollars is. Let's not make an assumption everyone knows what that is. Walk everyone through driving for dollars.
So it's essentially just driving around different neighborhoods and looking at the properties as you're doing it and looking for things that might need attention, like broken windows, overgrown grass, stuff that could be a motivation to sell. I'd say that's a good example,
motivation
right?
to sell. That's the first time the agent came on the podcast. It's a motivation to sell. That's how Kyle closes them right there. You see that going right there?
You got to find the motivation to get someone to sell, right? Like when you're calling people, you handle all those objections and you try to get them to the motivation.
Yeah.
The motivation, I mean, this one honestly didn't look horrible. I just liked the layout of it, and in all honesty, it was on my list to call because there was this nice 3-bay garage next to it.
Nice.
And I'm like, okay, I like
Love a good garage.
I like the value add. You want to know the funny part? That was the neighbor's property.
Oh,
not even the one I called or bought. So I don't have a garage.
So don't do that, kids, if you're listening. But do pick up the phone and go. Yeah.
Yeah, but still pick up the phone and do it. So yeah, I had like a list of like 10 properties. And funny enough, this house I bought was 5 minutes from where I was living at the time. So it wasn't far. And the motivation to sell was the owner passed away. The kids were kind of not taking care of it. So the aunt was taking all of responsibility. I connected with the aunt very well, and she's like, she gave me a shot, realistically.
You found the decision maker.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell people all the time.
Yeah.
Like we had a deal. I'll tell a little story. Park Street. Do you remember this one?
Yep.
So if you want a real estate negotiation tip, it's made us a ton of money and just make our money. People always think the owner is who you need to talk to. You need to figure out the decision maker in every transaction. So we had this 5-unit in Dover, New Hampshire, that was on Zillow, and we showed up, and they were I think it was like Vietnamese or something. Everyone was having a hard time speaking to the agent, speaking to the owner, and I watched the property manager take us through. And I'm watching the way she's speaking. I'm watching the body. I didn't even know the language. They were not talking English. But I was just watching the way she was handling things, and I was like, that's the decision maker. So we go, I start negotiating with her directly. Now the agent who shows the property is getting annoyed as all hell, but he's an agent, so he's going to do more harm than good to begin with. Our agent who was there was laughing because he knew what I was about to do. So I started negotiating with her one-on-one, and I get her to agree that if we give them all cash, she'll deliver the property vacant. Now keep in mind, she's not supposed to be, she's the property manager. All right. We signed the contract. We get everything drawn up. I get executed. 2 weeks we're into the process. I get on the phone with the owner and his wife. And he says all these things back and forth, back and forth. I said, well, you got to deliver it vacant. He goes, well, what if you back away and I lose my rent? I said, well, you probably should have looked at what you signed.
Yeah.
The wife turned out to be the property manager. She was a decision maker telling him what to do the whole time.
Wow.
So because she was more concerned with what she wanted to be done, she was so sick of the building, they had to deliver it vacant. They had to get 5 units out in the middle of COVID because they were running this thing into the ground. Oh yeah, they were running into the ground. Yeah. Dude, they had like 14 people living in one unit. Oh, it was terrible.
Yep.
Man.
That deal, we bought that deal for $300,000. We sold it 12 months later for $900,000.
Bootleg handbags.
Oh yeah! Oh my god! Yeah,
it was a 5-unit.
Yeah, it was a 5-unit. They were running a. They were
I think
running
they worked
an
at like a
illegal
flea market
like
or something like that,
handbag,
and they had like
fake Louis V. I don't know,
Louis,
something.
Yeah. Oh man!
But oh my god! They were making bedrooms. Like they had bedrooms that were like 100 square. Like they were just cutting up walls. And I was like, you got to deal with all this shit. The bird mites. Remember bird mites? Oh my god! I remember
bird mites.
You never heard of that, have you? Bird mites are like fleas that eat people. Oh yeah, they had all that. There was
like
so many people in there. Kind of.
They're sort of on the same idea.
Yeah.
And but yeah, if you figure out who the decision maker is, that was a great tip by you because it's like it's not all the siblings who own it. It's the aunt.
I didn't even meet the siblings until closing. I met them at the closing table. That was it.
And it's funny how people get in their own head, and it's like they'll put up those limiting beliefs, and you just push through that. And I go back to that mindset, that drive, that back to your youth. Like I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna figure it out. So what are we seeing now? What's on the horizon? What are you seeing for a forecast? You're doing the agent thing. Is the agent goal, we have you back on the podcast 3 years from now. What does it look like? Are you a full-time investor? Do you got, $100,000 a month in cash flow? Where are you taking this next?
So
this is so we can hold you to it, by the way, as a new member of the standard.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
All right.
I think I want to keep stacking properties. I do think that the investment side of real estate is the way to scale out of being a realtor and doing the transactional side of it.
Yep.
Ultimately, I'm okay doing the transactional side if it's with people that I like. People within my network that want to work with me.
So everyone who's going to hear this, if you turn them down, now they're going to know you don't like them.
No, no, hey, but maybe. But yeah, no, essentially I want to, by 30, I want to have 5 properties.
Okay.
And
why are you playing it so small?
I know, right? That's what everyone always says. It's just I want to house hack my way there.
I mean, the 5 properties could be 5,000 units, though. Technically,
it could
be.
Yeah,
we're gonna work on that goal.
That's
a pussy goal.
open.
We're gonna work on.
I'm
that.
open to it.
We're gonna push you.
Yeah.
You're way too smart to have 5 properties.
Yeah,
way too smart.
Okay,
you're selling yourself incredibly short.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I can just even meeting you and talking to you and your energy, and just because I probably have a soft spot because I'm from the same background, I'm like, no, we're not gonna be pussies. We're gonna pull some triggers here.
All right,
we're gonna add a 0 to that, and we're gonna add a couple zeros on the cash flow side.
So 50 properties before
50
30.
properties, and I think by the time you're 30, if you want it, 50 to 100K a month in cash flow.
Okay,
how's that sound?
That sounds great.
All right, we're gonna do it and map out a plan.
Okay,
I like it. With that said, you have a podcast. What's the name of the podcast?
Real Talk with Waz.
Real Talk with Waz. We're getting very real Waz right now.
Real
Waz, I know he's
Waz.
getting put on the hot seat right now.
Yeah, I know.
All right, well then I'm asking everybody who does come in before we let you get out of here. What's up with this market right now? What do you think rates? What do you think everything going on right now?
In all honesty, I think we're going to see rates kind of stick where they're at. I think you might see it drop 1%. You know, they'll be around 6. I don't think we'll see the 5% this year. If we do, it's great.
Are you doing anything with the ADU stuff yet in New Hampshire? Because I think that's fascinating.
No, I'm not. I know it's starting to become more easier to build the ADUs, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not coming across anything as of right now.
Yeah.
This year maybe, but no, I'm not at the moment.
Yeah, I'm telling everybody, I think the best strategy, so back to your house hack, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm even looking at again myself, because I was trying to get good dirt, right? I'm thinking of the cities, think of Rye, think of Bedford, think of like really nice areas. By right now, you can basically build an ADU. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, is there an opportunity out there to buy, it's kind of what I have in Salem, some of these single families where you add the ADU, and now you basically, if we're going to walk through this step by step, this is not financial advice. Jake, make sure that's in the episode. Hypothetically, if you were to buy it as a single family, build an ADU, refinance, and now you've got a multifamily on the appraisal, you could then get a HELOC on that property because now it's cash flowing because you get the ADU. You can scoop that equity and go do it again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
I think that's a great strategy that I'm kind of telling everybody who's trying to get in. That's an easy way to look at it right now.
I'd be curious if I could put one with my multi now because I have.
Have you looked at zoning?
I have not on my property specifically now.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't know where to start there. if I'm being honest.
Okay, well, I can tell you, we can talk a little about that offline, but that's a perfect example of, if you think about it, it's currently a 3-unit, right?
It's a 3-unit, but there's like I have a long driveway all the way to the backyard.
Yep.
And then there's like a decent sized little backyard that maybe I could put another unit at a minimum.
100%.
Manchester has an appetite for
Manchester's,
housing.
we got people to connect you with on that, but it's literally going through zoning. But what's more important there that people need to understand, adding that 4th unit, you're still actually a residential mortgage.
Yeah.
So technically you could do that. You could potentially maybe add a garage with an ADU above. How much value does that add, right? I mean, there's a lot of things to look at, and the way to do it would be to look at the zoning, see what's allowed over there. Then it might be going through, I don't know if you'll need a conditional use in Oxford Zone residential, and then it's getting plans drawn up and it's seeing what fits. You might have to go through a process, but that goes back to a perfect example. You got a 3-family in Manchester. It's probably worth right now, or call it 600 to 650. Am I pretty spot on?
650.
I'm pretty good.
There's one right down the street for sale at 800 because it's got a double lot.
That guy's got to be from
If that thing
Massachusetts,
sells
but-
for 800, then I got like 300K in equity.
Okay. I'd be watching that like a hawk. Why aren't you buying that one to build on the second lot?
I don't think it's a big enough lot. I don't know, but
Did
it
you
doesn't
trust
look
but
like
verify?
it. No, I didn't.
So
I know
what's the
that's one
problem
of your
here,
core
Kyle?
values.
What's the problem here, Kyle? All
I
right.
didn't verify.
So this guy's got to be a member. I mean, this is killing me. But that might be an opportunity, right? Because maybe you come in at 7, and now what I would do is on the CMA. I mean, I know we're getting really, I hope people like this. We're getting really real estate advice. We usually don't do this. But one thing we look for there is we would do the value add. We'd say, okay, we go under contract, look at that lot, evaluate that lot by itself. What if that lot is buildable for a duplex? Well, that lot by itself might be worth $150,000. You might be able to burr it just based off that. Maybe you can subdivide it, flip the land. I mean, there's a million ways to do this.
Yeah.
You know, that's the stuff I like. That's the stuff I get into.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, where can people get a hold of you?
You can follow me on social media, Waz Homes.
That's how we
W-A-Z
connected. Yeah, you
Homes.
messaged me straight
Yeah.
up. I loved it. He's like, hey, can I come on? I said, absolutely. I love this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Waze Homes, that on Instagram?
Instagram, you can add me on Facebook, Kyle Waszeciak. Reach out with any questions. Number 603-995-6156. I don't mind if
Why do
someone
real
calls
estate
me.
agents always give the numbers? It was Phil. He was like getting a lot of spam texts. And
It's
everything.
weird. My phone just vibrated as I just put my number out like that. That was
Speaking
weird.
it into existence.
Yeah.
That's your neighbor trying to sell you the plot right there. I love
Probably.
it.
Yeah.
All right, Kyle. Well, we can't thank you enough for being here. For Matthew Hitchcock, I'm Michael Ketchen. And as always, bet on yourself.